The invitation to my wife's office party arrived weeks in advance, but I wasn't exactly excited to attend. Lauren worked at a prestigious marketing firm, and their events felt more like performances than celebrations. Still, she insisted, "You'll finally get to meet my new boss," she said with an unusually eager tone. "He's brilliant," she added. I raised an eyebrow. The way she said the word made me uneasy, but I didn't argue. We had been drifting apart for months, her late nights becoming routine, her phone always face down on the counter. I wanted to believe it was just work stress, nothing more. But that night, in a glittering ballroom filled with polished smiles and champagne, my doubts would finally be answered. When we arrived, Lauren looked breathtaking in a red dress that commanded attention the second she stepped inside. Heads turned immediately, and among them stood her boss, Eric Masters. Tall, confident, with the quiet arrogance that money and power often create. "Evan," Lauren said, pulling me toward him, "this is Eric." He glanced at me briefly before smirking. "Ah, the husband," he said, shaking my hand with just enough pressure to make his attitude clear. "Lauren's told me all about you." The way he said her name made my skin crawl. I forced a polite smile. "Funny," I replied. "She hasn't told me much about you." Lauren laughed nervously, but Eric didn't. He simply took a sip of his drink, his eyes drifting down her dress before returning to me. That moment told me everything I needed to know. As the evening continued, I watched him carefully. He was the kind of man who believed charm excused disrespect. Loud, overly familiar, touching people casually as if he owned the room. And Lauren kept brushing it off, laughing at his jokes, letting him stand far too close. My chest tightened, but I stayed composed. The turning point came during his toast. He wrapped his arm around Lauren's waist, not friendly, not professional, and declared, "Here's to the woman who makes coming to work worth it." The crowd laughed. I didn't. His hand lingered too long. Lauren stiffened but didn't pull away. My jaw tightened as I took a slow sip of wine, humiliation burning hotter than the alcohol. Eric noticed my silence and smirked. "Relax, Evan," he said, patting my shoulder like I was a child. "She's safe with me." Laughter rippled through the room again. Lauren went pale. "Eric, stop," she whispered, but he only smiled wider. I could have exploded right there, but I didn't. Instead, I gave a faint, controlled smile that clearly unsettled him. "You're right," I said quietly. "She is safe. Safer than you think." He frowned, clearly missing the meaning behind my words. What he didn't know was that the company he bragged about had quietly changed ownership 3 months earlier, and I was the man who signed his checks. I had come to this party to see one thing, how he treated people when he believed no one important was watching. Later that night, he grabbed the microphone again to boast about his team. Pointing at Lauren, he said, "And this one here, my right hand. I couldn't do it without her." The crowd applauded, and he smirked, clearly savoring the attention. "Of course," he added, glancing at me. "Some people get jealous of our chemistry." I felt every eye in the room settle on us. Lauren's hands trembled. I stepped forward slowly. "Mind if I say a few words?" I asked. He grinned and handed me the microphone like a man intoxicated by his own ego. "Be my guest, husband of the year." The room chuckled, unaware this would be the last laughter of the night. "Thank you," I began calmly. "It's been eye-opening to see how this company operates, how leadership treats its employees, and how often respect gets replaced with arrogance." The room grew quiet. Eric's smile started to fade. "That's why I wanted to be here tonight," I continued, "because this company, your company, was recently acquired." I paused, letting the silence deepen. "And as of last quarter, I am the new owner." A collective gasp swept the ballroom. Eric's face went pale. "That's not funny," he muttered weakly. I reached into my jacket and handed him a folded document. Official confirmation. It's not a joke, I said evenly. You report to me now. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Lauren covered her mouth, stunned into silence. Eric stammered. You, you can't just. Oh, I can, I cut in. And I will. My tone stayed calm and professional. Effective immediately, you are suspended pending an investigation for workplace misconduct, starting with your behavior tonight. HR executives exchanged uneasy glances. Eric stood frozen, unable to move. I returned the microphone and added quietly, "Next time you touch someone's wife, make sure you know who she is." The silence was suffocating. I turned and walked toward the exit as whispers spread behind me. Lauren hurried after me outside, tears filling her eyes. "Evan," she said, her voice shaking, "why didn't you tell me?" I faced her, calm but exhausted. "Because I wanted to see the truth. Who you become when you think I'm just your husband, not someone who could change your world in a single sentence." She reached for my hand, but I stepped back. "You let him disrespect us both. You laughed along. That's not something I can forget." She sobbed and tried to explain, but the damage was already done. By morning, Eric had resigned. The company underwent a major cleanup, with several of his allies gone within weeks. As for Lauren and me, we tried to talk, but some silences cannot be repaired. Love can endure many things, but not public humiliation and quiet betrayal. Eventually, I filed for separation, not out of revenge, but because I finally saw who she had become, someone who valued appearances over respect. Whenever I think back to that night, I remember how quickly power shifts when truth enters the room. When Eric placed his hand on her waist, he believed he was asserting dominance. In reality, he handed me the perfect moment to remind everyone who truly held control. I didn't shout, I didn't fight. I simply told the truth. And it burned brighter than any revenge ever could.